Hello there. Hello there. Hello there. How about those Cardinals? Jeez. Good stuff. We're going to talk about that today on the Bernie Show. I'm Bernie Miklasz, longtime member of the St. Louis Sports Media Industrial Complex. And this is the Bernie Show. You can find all of my work, my written columns, my videos, my podcast version of those videos at sportshubstl.com. Just go there. You'll find links to everything. Just look at the Bernie Hub. They have that set up. All my stuff is under there with links to it. The Bernie Show is presented by DraftKings. The crown is yours. Well, like I said at the top, how about those Cardinals keep winning and winning and winning? I hope you watched the series opener in Philadelphia. It was, gosh, what a ball game. It was so tense and it was exciting. It was a pretty dramatic event for a game played on a otherwise mundane Monday night in May, right? The Cardinals prevailed 3-2 for a variety of reasons, and I probably will leave some of them out, but there's another strong start by Matthew Liberatore. There was another lockdown performance by the bullpen with especially reliever Kyle Leahy, but along with JoJo Romero, getting 8 outs to hand the ball to closer Ryan Helsley for the save. The Cardinal offense was held to 5 hits and 3 walks on the evening, but you got to like the way they kind of got the runs they needed. I mean, they scratched out their first run. Nolan Arenado walked. He tagged up to second on a deep fly ball. He advanced to third base on a wild pitch and then scored on an RBI ground out by Pedro Pages, who put the ball in play and did his job. This would be what people would call manufacturing a run, right? And then, of course, there was the wallop. There were the big home runs by Ivan Herrera in the top of the 6th and the eventual winning shot by Mason Winn in the top of the 7th. The Cardinals weren't at their sharpest defensively in this game, but Jordan Walker sprinted in hard from right field to snatch a tricky line drive in the gap for the final out of the game. I don't know. It could have gotten in. Victor Scott may have gotten it instead, but Walker, unlike in the past years, the past couple years, Walker didn't hesitate. He saw the ball. He knew the game could have been on the line, depending on what happened after that. If that ball gets in, he just said, "No, I'm taking charge. I'm gonna go get this thing." So I love the fact that Jordan Walker does have value, and he does have defensive value. That's not what he's getting paid for, but I admire the way he's worked on his defense. I really do. He's good out there. This was certainly one of the Cardinals' best wins of the season, maybe even the best. It would be in the conversation. See, Philadelphia, we know, is no slouch. I mean, this is one of the best teams in baseball. And the Phillies came into Monday with an 11-3 record in their previous 14 games. And during those 14 games, their offense averaged nearly 6 runs per game and averaged about 1.5 homers per game during that hot streak. So this was a team that no one has been able to really cool down for a while, but the Cardinals were able to do it with that 3-2 win. So a Cardinals team that not too long ago, in fact, it was May 2nd, they were stuck at 5 games under 500 with a 14-19 record. But they've clicked off 9 straight wins. It's their longest winning streak since the 2021 Cardinals won 17 in a row under manager Mike Shildt in September of 2021. A Cardinals team that couldn't win on the road now has won 6 of their last 7 games away from Busch Stadium. A Cardinals team that was portrayed prematurely and foolishly as a group that couldn't handle good teams is busy changing that narrative. Not that many people would notice. After Monday's victory, the Cardinals are 10-10 against teams over 500. And before you sneer at that, well, what's so great about 10-10? Well, I'm very happy to answer. That 10-10 mark is tied for the 6th best in the majors record against opponents that have winning records this season. Tied for the 6th best in the majors. See, there are a lot of teams, good teams, that don't necessarily do that well against winning opponents, and the Cardinals are doing more than was expected, and the Cardinals are doing more than I think people thought they would, and I know that 10-10 is a hell of a lot better than people would assume. Never mind that the Cardinals are 3-1 against the Phillies this season and recently swept a doubleheader from the mighty Mets. Never mind the Cardinals swept the Twins, who have a winning record. Never mind they won a series from the Houston Astros, who are still a dangerous team. How about the fact that they've piled up so many wins against some of the best starting pitchers in the game? I had that in a column yesterday. You can go find it. I may include that again in today's Redbird review, which I'm going to write here in a little while. But the Cardinals have piled up a lot of wins against some really, really outstanding pitchers, and it happened again last night. And I'm talking about games started by outstanding pitchers. I mean, Sanchez is outstanding. By all means, though, this narrative, well, the Cardinals, they beat up on the bad teams, but they can't do anything against the good teams. By all means, please continue with the lazy narrative, because I get a kick out of that stuff. The Cardinals have the NL's best record since April 25th, winning 13 of 17 games. That's also tied for the best record in the majors with Kansas City. That's going to be a hell of a series this weekend over in KC, huh? So anyway, the Cardinals have the NL National League's best record since April the 25th. They're 13-4. Their 11-2 record since April the 30th is the best in Major League Baseball, and their 9-game winning streak is the longest by any Major League team this season. So the Cardinals also have a top 10 offense. The starting pitching is exceeding expectations. The bullpen has delivered on an amazing turnaround over the last 17 games. Their relievers through last night haven't allowed a run over their last 24 1/3 innings. I don't know what the future holds, and that's baseball, man, 162 games. I don't know what the future holds, but I'm really enjoying the show. And there's another really endearing, appealing aspect of this Cardinals team and the way that this Cardinals team is growing and trending. And I'm going to be really happy to talk about that after I give you some info on DraftKings. Please support our sponsor, DraftKings. The crown is yours. The baseball season is cruising towards Memorial Day. By now, we have a better handle on major league teams and players in 2025. If you think you know Major League Baseball or any other sport you prefer, then put that knowledge to use. Make it work for you and win some big cash prizes. In DraftKings Pick 6, you just focus on player stats. You pick at least 2 players, and you choose whether the player will go higher or lower on a specific stat. Yeah, it's really that simple. And there's so many players and options to choose from in nearly every sport. I'll give you one example. I'm going to get away from baseball. What about the NHL playoffs? What about Winnipeg's Kyle Connor in tonight's game against Dallas? Do you think he'll score a goal? Well, DraftKings. See, I always talk about Fangraphs. DraftKings lists him at 0.5 goals. So if you think he'll score in this one, then you go above 0.5. You go higher than that. If you think Dallas will shut him down, okay, you go lower than that. That just give you an example there. So make your selections. Take your best shot at winning that cash money. Pick 6 is available in Missouri, California, Texas, Georgia, and more. Playing is fun. You follow your selections, and I think that's part of the entertainment, monitoring to see how your picks are doing. But the best entertainment is winning money, right? That's really entertaining. So it's very easy to get started if you're interested. Check it out. Just download the DraftKings app and open an account, then choose a sport, pick your players, and go for it. New players at DraftKings get $50 in Pick 6 credits instantly with just a $5 entry. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use the code STL Sports. That's code STL Sports for new customers to play $5 and get $50 in Pick 6 credits. Better payouts, bigger wins, only with Pick 6 from DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
All right, back to the red hot Redbirds. This has been a nice surprise, huh? After they seemed to be stuck in the mud, kind of buried. sitting at 14-19 not that long ago. And here's what I really like about, other than the fact they're doing what they're doing, I really like a collective team personality that has formed. They've got that big time underdog vibe going. And that's always makes a team a little, I don't know if dangerous is the word. It makes them really frisky. It makes them really determined. It prevents them from getting down in the dumps all the time. And, they lose a couple, they lose 3 out of 4, and they start to fall apart. That underdog vibe can be a powerful thing. Just ask the 2019 Blues or the 1999 greatest show on turf Rams. Not that I think the Cardinals are going to win a world championship. That's not my point. But we've seen the underdog vibe work quite a bit. And I'd rather have that than not have it with a team that I follow, right? The Cardinals were essentially counted out as a factor in the hunt for a postseason spot before the season began. They had a projected win total, depending on where you looked, between 77 and 80. Again, depending on where you looked. And for sure, you got to be honest, man, they seemed to be heading in that direction until there was an intervention made. Manager Ollie Marmol and pitching coach Dusty Blake did a quick makeover of a really, really horrendous bullpen. And since then, the Cardinals are 6-0 in games determined by a 1-run margin. And this started April the 25th, when they sort of put their new bullpen plan and personnel in place. See, with the bad bullpen, the Cardinals lost. They were 0-5 in 1-run games, right? Games determined by a run, 0-5. Now, in my opinion, that kind of maybe it was such a glaring thing that it maybe obscured a lot of the good things the Cardinals were doing well. And by that, I mean this. Now that the bullpen carnage has been cleaned up, and this bullpen has gone from being a tremendous liability to a really good strength and a really, really good positive. Now that the bullpen carnage has been cleaned away, we can see that the Cardinals are better than anticipated offensively, and they're better than I think many of us thought with their starting pitching so far. See, it's difficult to appreciate the positives or even notice the positives, dwell on the positives, when you have an awful bullpen that erases your positives by constantly squandering late inning leads. So now that they have a fighting chance in the late innings, they have more than that recently. St. Louis players seem to be thriving in that underdog role because they can kind of see it. Hey, we can win this game now. The bullpen's going to take care of their business. We can win these games we were losing earlier. And the Cardinals are able to compete with the confidence in knowing that bullpen will come through. And Monday's win at Philly absolutely personified that. We talk about underdog vibe. Is there a better example of this than reliever Kyle Leahy protecting a 1-run lead in the enemy's ballpark in front of a huge crowd? He gets Trey Turner on a fly ball, and then he freezes Bryce Harper on a called strike 3 to end the 7th inning. And then he comes back in the 8th and he gets 2 quick outs, disposing of Kyle Schwarber and Nick Castellanos. Or that Kyle Leahy defied the tactic from the Philadelphia dugout with their manager, said, "Oh, they got a right-hander warming up, and I'm gonna be subbing guys out. We're gonna pinch hit. We're gonna put some left-handers up there against that guy." Do they not look at stats? Kyle Leahy's actually better against left-handed hitters than right-handed hitters, even though he's a right-handed pitcher. And oh, by the way, I'm not saying that because of last night. I've been writing about this stuff for weeks. I'm always amazed when baseball people really don't know, like, basically a guy's profile. It's 2025, man. This ain't the 1940s. You don't send a bunch of left-handed hitters up against a guy who has held left-handed batters to an average under 100 this season. Anyway, but is that the underdog vibe or not? The manager on the other side just thinks he's some kind of right-handed schlub, and we'll get our lefties up there and they'll put this guy to sleep and all this stuff. And that called third strike on Bryce Harper. And if you look at the replay, Bryce Harper put his head down a second because he knew it. It was a perfect pitch. And then he kind of gave a quick glance out to the mound to Kyle Leahy. And I interpreted that as a sign or a signal of respect. So Leahy, this is why I think he may be more than anybody on the team. And there's other candidates, obviously. He may represent this underdog vibe more than anybody. He was drafted late. He makes the minimum salary. He's the best reliever in baseball that no one outside of St. Louis even knows about. And I don't think he's been fully appreciated here up until recently. He's really, really good. See, the Cardinals have a lot of this stuff going on, with Matthew Liberatore. Boy, this decision to put him in the rotations worked out great. Victor Scott II, the decision to put him in center field, that's worked out great. The young DH, Ivan Herrera, with Pedro Paje. Sorry, I got a toothache today. I got to go to the dentist Thursday. I didn't mean to interrupt my thing, but I'm like, all right, I'm doing a little bit of this today. It's painful, man. I don't wish that on anybody. Anyway, let me get back to this. You didn't want to hear me whining. So with, the young designated hitter, Ivan Herrera, back in the lineup, and does anyone outside of St. Louis know much about him? Probably not. Really good. With Pedro Pajes playing exceptional defense behind the plate. You got Lars Nootbaar staying healthy. That's so far beating the odds. Brendan Donovan, who we all know is good, but I want to tell you another, like a little example of how good he is and how underestimated he is, and not in St. Louis. Cardinals fans fully appreciate it. But I'm talking about when you talk about some of the guys having their best seasons in the majors this year. Let me share this really quick. Brendan Donovan's got a higher batting average than Shohei Ohtani, Francisco Lindor, and Alex Bregman, and he's put up a higher slugging percentage than Bryce Harper or Mookie Betts. I mean, that's just a little snapshot example of what I'm talking about. I think Brendan Donovan represents the underdog vibe too, even though he is, he's been up here since 2022. That's not really the point. I think, even though he's won a Gold Glove, yes, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying he isn't respected. He is. But when people think of a star player, they don't think of Brendan Donovan. I think Cardinals fans do, as they should. But does Brendan Donovan get a lot of love? Does he get a lot of run outside of St. Louis? I don't think so. I think some general managers would love to have him, though. See, these Cardinals are sneaky, and they're sneaky good. They want to be viewed as a kind of rebuilding team. I don't know. Is it a rebuilding team? Is it a soft rebuild? Is it a transition year? Yeah, it looks like a transition year. But they're not going to do anything. See, they love that. They want to be the team that is still overlooked. For example, and let me just preface this by saying, I don't care what The Athletic does as far as ranking teams. I'm just using this as an example. And I love The Athletic, by the way, so I'm not sitting here like cheap shotting them. In the new power rankings, which came out today, which incorporated or encompassed that win in Philadelphia, right? The Cardinals are rated number 17 in the majors, which implies they're a below average club. Well, they're obviously not. They're 23-19. And they've beaten some really good teams lately, and they're on a run, big time run. So even though they've moved to 4 games over 500, they're still considered a below average team in the Athletic power rankings. Now, again, I'm going to say it again. I don't care about the rankings. They can put the teams wherever they want to. I'm just trying to make a point. The Cardinals are tied for the most wins in the majors since April the 25th, and their pitching's been outstanding. The bullpen's been great. The offense continues to perform at a top 10 level, despite so many people being ignorant of that fact. And they're only a game behind the Cubs in the Central. And they have the longest winning streak by a team in the majors this season. And yet the Athletic has them ranked behind 5 teams that have worse records than the Cardinals: the Twins, Astros, Red Sox, Braves, and Diamondbacks. See, the Cardinals take no offense to that. I don't either. I kind of like it because I think it's funny. But the Cardinals take no offense because they want to be overlooked. They want to be underrated. They want you to count them out. They want you to just wave them off. Non-factor. It fits their underdog vibe, and they are locking in on that, man. They are tapping into it big time. I like something Mason Winn said after Monday's win when he met with the reporters, and I quote him. I just feel like we're just playing free. Obviously, we've been winning a lot of games, but we show up every day pretending like we're still negative. We're fighting every day to try and get a win. And see, the veterans have tapped into this vibe too. How about Nolan Arenado last night? Making that aggressive base running move, tagging up from first on that deep fly. And he nearly got thrown out, but the call was reversed on appeal, on challenge. But how about that aggressive base running move to set up a run? Then you got Contreras making a diving stop away from the bag and getting to his feet to step on first and get a key out late in the game. By the way, don't tell anybody, because of course this would upset the narrative. You would, if you tell somebody this, well, first of all, they wouldn't believe you and they would dismiss it as a garbage stat or whatever. But don't tell anybody this, because you wouldn't want to hurt their narratives. You wouldn't want to do any damage to their narratives. Wilson Contreras, outs above average this year. He's a +2, which is one of the best for a first baseman in the big leagues. Paul Goldschmidt -1. Oh, don't tell anyone that. Don't tell anyone that. They'll try to perform an exorcism on you or something. Anyway, this group has the underdog mentality more than any Cardinals team of recent vintage. And, I don't listen, these fellows in terms of, whether Busch Stadium's packed or not, these fellows don't have the support at home. They often play in a half-empty Busch Stadium. No problem. I understand why Cardinals fans are upset, but the fact is the ballpark's half-empty most of the time, or maybe even worse than that. But it's no problem for the players. It doesn't diminish their enthusiasm. They're winning big time at home, 15-6 at home, despite the lack of support from their fan base in terms of tickets sold at home. And when their own fans don't fully support them, and they keep winning and winning and winning at home anyway, well, then that's just confirmation, validation that the underdog element is pretty powerful, if you ask me. The best fans in baseball may be taking a break because of reasons that have nothing to do with the players. We talked about this a lot. If you want to be mad at Bill DeWitt, yeah. You want to sit at home on your couch and chant at the TV, sell the team, sell the team, sell the team. If even when the Cardinals win, you're still going on message boards, talking about firing the manager. Okay, whatever. We all agree Mo must go, but this year so far is working out okay for him, I would say, but it is his final year. So I understand why the best fans of baseball are taking a break from supporting the team on the field. But it doesn't matter to the players. And when they're not getting the support at home in terms of people in the stands, the Cardinals players make up for it by supporting each other, including their managers and the coaches. Heck, this team could even lose the next 2 games in Philadelphia. I'm not predicting they will, but they could, and they'd still come out of it looking good, because at worst, they would leave Philly with a 3-3 tie in the season series. And a Philadelphia stomping was expected. And even if the Cardinals don't get that one more win in the next 2 days to take the series from the Phillies, do you think this team, you think this is going to leave them down and feeling down? You think they're going to be bummed out and, they're going to drag to Kansas City and, well, I guess it's not going to be our year. Heck no. Know your team. You do know your team. I'm not saying that though, like everybody. Of course, you know your team. And I know many Cardinals fans appreciate this underdog vibe and the enthusiasm and energy that this team has. And I think they're quite entertaining. But this team doesn't get demoralized. Were they demoralized when they drifted to 5 games under 500? And that happened at 2 or 3 instances, at least this season. They'd start to crawl up a little bit. They'd get knocked back to 5 games below 500. And it happened, as I said, recently, May 2nd, they were 5 games under. Were they demoralized every time they got knocked back? Did they feel defeated after suffering a 4-game sweep to the Mets in New York that was quite ugly? Did they throw their hands up and say, well, I guess the critics were right. We're not very good. No, it didn't have any effect on them whatsoever. None whatsoever. So in the return match with the Mets, even though they got hammered in the series opener on Friday, the Cardinals came back and took 2 out of 3 and swept the doubleheader on Sunday. That's another example. This team will not back off, not with this mix of hungry young players, highly motivated older dudes, and some breakout stars. It's a really nice combination. Is this team going to back down, back off, back away? Nuh-uh. Not this team, which was supposed to be a non-factor and an also-ran and loves the fact that people still see them that way. I haven't seen a Cardinals team have this much fun, really, since Albert Pujols came home to say goodbye in a fantastic, sweet farewell season back in 2022. I didn't expect to see the Cardinals look this good, and I have no problem acknowledging that. I don't do that thing. If you want to point fingers at me and say, "Hey, you were wrong," you wouldn't be incorrect. You would be correct, but let me put it this way. I'll get in. Where's that? All that long line that's wrapping around the ballpark. I'll get in a long line because just about everyone else wrote them off before the season started too. At least I admit it, right? So I think this is a lot of fun because I don't know how far they can go with this. I can't predict how this season will end for the Cardinals, and there's a lot of schedule left, but nothing would surprise me about these Redbirds because they've already surprised me and many, many others. How can I be trusted to forecast the Cardinals' final record after I've underestimated what their record would be to this point of the season, right? I didn't expect this kind of response when they were down there at 5 games under 500 on May 2nd. I didn't expect this kind of response. 9 in a row, 9 wins in a row. Are you kidding me? And 3 of those wins have been against the Mets and the Phillies. You don't have to apologize for a 9-game winning streak. No, man, roll with it. Keep going. When a team starts to believe in itself, and this is kind of sums up how I feel. When a team starts to believe in itself, and a team proves that it can shake off adversity, when it proves that you can knock them down over and over again until they're 5 games under 500. And when a team won't go away after being cast as a loser, well, let me put it to you this way. That's a dangerous team. That's a dangerous team. I just enjoy watching them. I'm going to leave it at that for now. Thanks for watching The Bernie Show, and thanks for DraftKings. The crown is yours. You all have a wonderful day.